We need to get more revenue in this town. We need to get it as soon as possible. The basis for this tune tonight is an old religious song written by Charles E. Moody in 1924 and recorded by many since. Out on the perilous deep, where danger silently creeps, and storms so violently sweep, minority drifting too far from the shore, drifting too far from the shore, you're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town needs today, let them show you the way. The minority drifting too far from the storm. The selectmen meet every 2 weeks. Policy and finance are their keeps. The majority is in control. The minority plays less of a role. Minority drifting too far from the shore. Drifting too far from the shore. You're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town needs today. Let them show you the way. Minority drifting too far from the shore. The majority mostly prevails. They're certainly on the right trail, while the minority so often wails. Minority drifting too far from the shore. Drifting too far from the shore. You're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town needs today. Let them show you the way. Minority drifting too far from the shore. The majority prepares and decides. For their platform they do preside. Unprepared, the minority's vexed. They smirk, pass notes, and they text. Minority drifting too far from the shore. Drifting too far from the shore. You're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town's needs today. Let them show you the way. Minority drifting too far from the shore. The majority is very succinct. They don't smirk, fumble papers, and wink. The minority's always surprised. Their supporters whine, smirk, and despise. Some supporters may be drifting too far from the shore. Drifting too far from the shore. You're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town's needs today. Let them show you the way. Some supporters may be drifting too far from the shore. You can see some of them on TV as often as you can see me. Sometimes they are hard to take. A lot of noise they can make. Some supporters may be drifting too far from the shore. Drifting too far from the shore. You're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town needs today. Let them show you the way. Minority drifting too far from the shore. The majority still keeps its cool. Seldom do they act the fool. Minority often pokes fun, to the newspapers they run. Drifting too far from the shore, you're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town's needs today, let them show you the way. Minority drifting too far from the shore. Nearby towns read the unsigned comments and cry, "What's up with this Winstead nearby?" The local businessmen then begin to fret. Much less business we'll probably get. The minority is drifting too far from the shore. Drifting too far from the shore. You're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town's needs today. Minority drifting too far from the shore. Minorities now near a perilous deep. Many dangers silently creep, and storms they violently sweep. They're drifting too far from the shore. Drifting too far from the shore. They're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town's needs today. Let them show you the way. Minority drifting too far from the shore. Minority tempers up and roll high, while clouds overshadow the sky. Another election loss is hovering nigh. They're drifting too far from the shore. Drifting too far from the shore. You're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town's needs today. Let them show you the way. Minority drifting too far from the shore. Minority may meet a terrible fate. Will mercilessly abundantly wait. Don't continue to grate. Join in before it's too late. You're drifting too far from the shore. Drifting too far from the shore. You're drifting too far from the shore. Support the town needs today. Let them show you the way. Minority drifting too far from the shore. The majority should pull us through, as they always said they would do. The minority keeps dragging behind, unable to make up their mind. Minority drifting too far from the shore. 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 Minority drifting too far from.
Well, that was a pretty good song, Minorities Drifting Too Far from the Shore. I went up to Maine this weekend, take my wife up to see the 1-year-old baby now in a couple more weeks. She has about 4 teeth and she can almost stand up, definitely crawl. So we went up there, and on the way up and on the way back I wrote a couple songs. This is the first one you heard already. There'll be another one at the end of the show when we do the bottoms up of piece. It'll be different wording. It'll be more positive song. Well, the first song was directed to all minority members and supporters, and there's plenty of different ones around, different parties and different groups of people that want to help the town improve, especially in the badly needed additional revenue department. That's our big problem here in Winsted and Winchester. We don't have enough revenue. The current revenue numbers are underwhelming, to say the least. Tonight I will introduce a new section called Crying Wolf. In this section, I'll try to do one now and then over the weeks as the situation demands. Tonight's will be the subject of the call of the shepherd. The end of volunteerism is near. I don't agree with that, and I'll try to show you why tonight during the show. First thing I'd like to show you is somebody told, well, maybe we ought to do the agenda first. The agenda, comments, I already made those. Town budget, fiscal year 2009-2010, just basically an update from the last time around. Town budget for upwards pressure for the year 2010-2011. I'm going to repeat that again for those who didn't see the show in the last couple weeks. I'm going to do a post-revaluation of the top 10 tax assessments in the town of Winchester. You'll be surprised when you see some of these. Trying to make a point here. And then I'm going to go over the boards and commission voting statistics that I gathered this week from the town hall. They should be pretty accurate, plus or minus a little, but they're in the right ballpark. And I hope to show you that with these statistics that there is no end of volunteerism near. It's been around for 200 years around here, and it's going to be around for the next 200 years. Matter of fact, it's on throughout the America all the time. We couldn't do without the volunteers, and there's no sign at all that the volunteers are any less than they ever have been in the past. Now, I want to ask you if you know this song. I was talking to an old-timer in Winston a few weeks ago, and he said his grandmother used to sing him a song called Roosters Lay Eggs in Winston. I never heard of it before, but if any of you old-timers out there know of a song called Roosters Lay Eggs in Winston, I'd like to know about it. And I'm very interested. I looked on the internet, couldn't find anything there. So, all right, now as far as the budget is concerned for fiscal 2009-2010, it'll be a zero tax increase if approved at referendum, and that's going to be next week. Next Wednesday will be the referendum. Everybody should get there and try to vote. And then the Board of Education, Gilbert, have resolved the additional 1.2% decrease. I think both of their boards have now agreed it. I saw that in the paper today, and they're not, I don't know how happy they are with it, but they've agreed it. So there should be no reason why you can't vote the way you want at budget referendum next week. We'll see what happens there. Now, until further notice, if the budget gets approved, the mill rate will stay the same as it is now, no tax increase, 24.67. Now, the annual town budget referendum is going to be Wednesday, May 27th, next Wednesday, at 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Pearson School, where it usually is, unless something comes up in the meantime. You'll see signs around town for that. Now, for fiscal 2010-2011, budget upwards pressure, which I try to do throughout the year from time to time. The revenue, we're going to lose $190,310 from the state next year, that's for sure. The LoSiP, we've got $200,000 in the revenue side and the expense side, should we do some roads. Now, as I said before, if we use that money, then we can apply to the state for a 100% grant, and then they will give us the money back after we do the work and the job is finished. So it's to be replenished eventually when grant money is received, if indeed we spend it this year. If we don't spend it this year, then this $200,000 will remain for next year, and we might be able to spend it next year. It's actually in our budget. Expenditures, next year, again, we have to plan for salary increases, whether people believe in them or not, and they may not get it approved at the budget referendum if they don't, but depends on how things get worse. It's pretty rocky out there at the national level right now. All kinds of things happening to raise taxes, and budget estimates are much more in billions than we thought they were going to be, so things are rocky out there. Don't expect any miracles for quite a while. But we're going to figure, at least my rough estimation is going to be about $60,000 that we're going to have to scrape up to come up with for any tax increases throughout the budget for next year. This is mainly on the town side of the budget, I think. Okay, now the health costs, they're now about 1.2 million, $1,200,000, and there's a lot of thought that they could go up anywhere between 5 and 20% next year. And I put up some numbers here. If they go up 5%, it'd be $60,000 we have to find, in addition to the other numbers. If it goes up 10%, it's $120,000 we have to find. If 15%, it's $180,000, and if 20%, it's $240,000. So the upwards pressure could be, if we do the roads, could be between $450,310 and $690,310 that we'll have to come up with. If we do the roads, we will lose the $200,000 on the expense side, and if that happens, then we can't spend that $200,000. It'll have to go down. So if we remove a low SIP and we say we're not going to do the roads this year, we'll still have the $200,000 plus we won't expend it on the expense side. Then the upwards pressure is more like $250,310 and $490,310. So there's some room there for maneuver if we don't do those roads. Now, there may be other things that might happen this year that either give us more revenue, unlikely, or there may be other things happen this year that cost us more money, most likely. So we're going to keep on top of this, at least up until election time, while I still have the show running. Now I'm putting on this sideways slide. I hope you can see it in the camera view there, because I want to go over with you the top 10 taxpayers in Winchester. I went down to the town hall today, and with a lot of help from both the assessor's department and the tax department down there, we got together over the few days, we got together this report. What I asked them to do was to run a report and tell me who the top 100 taxpayers are on the real estate side. That means people who pay taxes on buildings and any real estate in this town. There's also another tax in this town, which is mainly for businesses, and that's called a personal tax. It's a personal use tax. So if you have lathes and machinery, and almost all the contractors pay quite a bit for this tax, people pay this. So I had them run the top 100 of these personal taxes as well. And then I had them help me merge these two together so that I could come up with a total number. Who is the top 100 taxpayers in this town, and how much are they assessed for, which is this row, and how much tax do they pay, which is this row. And of course, before here, I've got the name of the company or the house, because there are residences in here and apartment places and all. And I've got what they're assessed for that piece of property, and what they pay in taxes right here. And then I add them together and we come up with a total. Okay, so I'm going to go through that report. It's got 100 on here. You could go to 200, 300. There are about 5,500 residential taxpayers in this town. Nowhere near that number of businesses, but of one sort or another. But I want to show you tonight, because I think this is very important, that you understand where the tax money comes from the existing taxpayers, and how much and how important it is to our town. I will make one little hedge here, in that if a business paid for personal use type taxes, and there were, let's say, number 500 on that list, well, then I didn't include them in here. So this here is the best approximation I could come up with that I thought would be worthwhile to present on this program. Now, this is like a 95% accurate document. You can all get the same document if you want from the town hall. It's not a big deal now that it's put together. The other 5% would take a lot of work, probably a month or two of somebody's work. It's not worth the time, because the information it shows isn't going to change things very much. So I didn't want to bother getting into that kind of detail. But you can if you want to. Anybody can go down there. All this stuff is public information, and it's as accurate as the town hall can make it. And if there are any mistakes in spelling of anybody's name or a street address or even some of the numbers, then that's my problem. That means I transpose it, wrong. But I have checked it over many times, and I think it's in pretty good shape. So the first thing I want to show you is this list of the top taxpayers. I'm not going to show them. I can tell you what they are by taking this report back. Maybe I'll do that. But the top taxpayer is a shopping center, the Stop and Shop shopping center. They pay $300,000 in taxes, according to the latest list. They're officially known as 1923 St. Mark's LLC, and they're on the New Hartford Road. And as you all know, it's retail businesses down there. There's stores down there, wine store, there's all kinds of stuff down there, and there's a gas station. But that whole complex pays $300,000 in taxes. Now, I'm not sure whether the retail stores pay additionally on top of that. I didn't ask them that down there. But if so, they would be probably below the top 100, and they wouldn't show up on my list. So now, how much are they assessed for total? Well, just to give you an idea, they're assessed for, on the real estate assessment for their buildings and anything that falls under real estate, $9,984,380. And on that, they pay $246,314.65 in taxes. And then they have a personal property. That's what the other category's official name is, personal property assets and assessment. That they have $2,178,930, and that's taxed $53,754. I don't know exactly what that tax formula is, but that includes all kinds of tools and all kinds of things, you know, refrigerators and all. So now their total then, real estate and personal property taxes is $12,163,307. And on that, they pay $300,069 every year in taxes. They pay half in the beginning of the year and half in the middle of the year like everybody else. If they're late, they have to pay interest like everybody else. Interest, I understand, is 18% a year if you don't pay your taxes. The second one on the list, in case I should repeat this is New Hartford Road for the shopping center. You all know where it is, and it's retail businesses of all kinds down there. The next one on the list is Howmet Castings. They were number one on the list in 2006 when they did the bond issue, which I always used that document in the past, but now I'm using the town hall, right, the latest statistics, so it's better. So it's called Howmet Castings and Services. Now notice the big drop between 300,000 here and 96,306 here, which is still a lot of money. I'm not saying it isn't, but their total payments are there. And the way Howmet breaks down, they're on Price Road. They're in the business park. They have $1,436,540 in real estate assessment, and they have $2,467,210 in the personal property assessment. Now, so in this case, they're way less than the shopping center for their real estate assessment. Shopping center is $9,984,380. These guys are $1,436,540. So that's a big drop there. And then, but they're ahead of the shopping center for personal property assessment. Theirs is $2,467,210, whereas the shopping center is $2,178,930. So altogether, Howmet pays $96,306 in taxes every year. Half at the beginning of the year, half at the middle of the year, 18% interest if they're late for the year. I mean, 18% per year, prorated for whatever they're late. The third one on the list is is, now these are both, you got two mixtures here. You got real retail businesses, the big one. You got industry here, factory, 96,306. Now you're going to have an apartment complex. Then the rental apartments, and it's called the Garden Apartments. It's on Nanny Drive. You can see it if you go up the old Winston Road and look on the right-hand side there. And they pay $79,607 in taxes. And the way theirs breaks down is $3,226,860,000. $860 rather. $3,226,860, and they pay no personal property assessment. Now they might have one that's below the 100 on the list, but I didn't take any of that into consideration. That's too much accuracy for what I need here. So they pay a total of $79,607 each year in taxes. Of course, all these numbers will go up with inflation when there is inflation. The next one on the list is the nursing home up at the lake. It's officially called, on the list that I have, Nationwide Health Properties, Inc., East Lake Street on Highland Lake. It's a health medical facility. They have personal real estate worth $2,025,980. And they have personal property at $55,760. And if you add those up, then you, I'm sorry, they have personal property at zero, so they're a straight 70, oh no, wait a minute, I goofed that up. They do have personal property, Nationwide Health Properties, Inc. It's a little hard to read this sheet because it's kind of small, but they have personal property of $49,960.94. And total, they pay $63,725 in taxes each year. The next one on the list is another manufacturing company. So here you got a medical facility, you got a rental apartments, you got a shopping center retail, and you got on the other page Howmet, which is industrial. So in these top four, you've got quite a mixture, and they're the big tax garners for our town. The next one is called Barden Corporation. This is a little tricky. I'll have to explain it to you. They're on the list called Barden Corporation on 159 Colebrook River Road. And they own real estate worth $945,980. That's what they're assessed at. The interesting thing about this one is they pay in personal property assessments, they're assessed at $1,334,880. So they actually have more in personal property assessment, $1,334,880. That's more than what they're assessed for their real estate, which is $945,980. So it just goes to show you how important his personal property is. They must have a lot of good equipment there to make whatever it is they make in that manufacturing facility. But their taxes are $56,629 a year. The next one is another housing apartment complex, rental apartments again. This one's on Mountain View Terrace. It's called the Litchfield Heights Apartments, and LLC. And its real estate is valued at $2,051,000. $2,109,170, and they have no personal property, as most of these real estate people don't. So they pay taxes of $52,033. $52,033. The next one is the old-fashioned name, Gilbert. The Gilbert Clock Properties Wallen Street, rental apartments. So already in the top 5, 6 or 7, we've got 3 apartment complexes, various areas of the town. So their properties are on Wallen Street, 13 Wallen Street, $2,051,000 in real estate and nothing in personal property assessment. So they pay a total of $50,598 a year in taxes. The next one is a private home, the first one that we've hit here, but it's in the top 10. And I really want to emphasize this because we got 2 or 3 of them now in the top 10. Are these large homes that people probably coming in from New York, somewhere else, are investing in this area and have been over the years. So the next one is, I think it's called Lanny, L-A-N-Y, Illanny it's supposed to be. I got it misspelled there. Illanny, I-L-A-N-Y, and it's Jonathan and Francis trustees. 212 Grantville Road, that's out by Winchester, Lake Winchester. And their home is assessed at $1,937,200. I don't know if they have multiple buildings there or one, but altogether what they've got on the list is $1,937,200, and they have no personal property assessment. So they are taxed $47,791. Now remember what I keep telling you on this program. This is a home here. In order to pay that tax, they're probably in the 50% bracket. I don't know what bracket they're in, but I'm just going to take a guess. If you got a $2 million home, you must be making a lot of money. So that means they're going to have to earn somewhere between $70,000 and $80,000, maybe a little less if they got some kind of a tax write-off somewhere, to pay $47,791. So we're not talking about pikers here. It's not peanuts. This is big money. Now the next one on the list, matter of fact, the next 2 on the list are both homes, private homes. Number 9 is Horowitz, Richard and Amy at 554 West Wakefield Boulevard. You won't be able to see it too good because it's out on the island and there's a lot of trees around it. But they're assessed at $1,803,070, and they don't have any personal property tax, according to this. They might have some that's below the 100 area, but they don't have any that qualifies for this list. And they pay $44,103 a year in taxes. And remember what I told you, what you have to earn to be able to pay that kind of tax money. Now, I don't know what the people earn. They may have some big tax write-off, so maybe they come out ahead on it. I don't know. But an average person would have to earn quite a bit more than the taxes to be able to pay the taxes. The next one is Pomerantz, and it says Freddie, F-R-E-D-I, 841 West Road, $1,787,730, and they have no personal property. So their taxes come out to be $44,103. So I just wanted to give you the top 10 to show you roughly how it comes in, how it's broken down. The first one is $300,000 in taxes. The second one's about 90-something in taxes. This one on number 10 is $44,000. You got 3 private homes in this top 10. You got a manufacturing or 2 in there, and you got 3 rental apartment complexes in there. And that's very important. So again, I want to show you that this is the list. It's got a couple pages to get through all, 100, and you can get a copy of it if you want. And if you can't, I'll get a copy for you. I'll give you a copy of mine. But it goes even farther down the list, and you can see how it breaks down. And of course, the lower you get on the list, the more it becomes private homes. The higher you are on the list, the more becomes these kind of things that we talked about tonight. Now I'm going to do you a favor, if you're paying attention and not watching the basketball game or baseball game or playing cards. A lot of people play cards at the Elks and places on Thursday night, so they miss the program unless they tape it. But for those that are watching, I'm going to put up the top 10 taxpayers when and if the major developments are implemented. Now, we all know that's a long way away because they still have to finalize some permits, especially for the water and sewer down the corridor, and they still have to get some permits from the state, both DEP and Army Corps of Engineers, for the golf course on one of these. But I'm just going to give you an idea because I want you to see why I'm always talking about revenue and why I'm always talking about these developments. And people that are against the developments are usually, this should go into the cry wolf section, because when we had the hearings, and I went to all of them in the beginning for the big golf course one for sure, there was no proof at all that it would hurt the lake. Matter of fact, there are a lot of precautions that have been taken to make sure that if it does, or in any way looks like it's going to, that we will have the instrumentation there to find out and do something about it in a timely manner. And the same with developer. So here's the first one. If these developments get implemented, once they're implemented, I'm talking about once they're implemented, there'll be incremental fee and tax advantages along the way. There'll be water and sewer hookup fees, and there'll be usage fees for the water and sewer and all that kind of thing. So I'm not counting any of that in here. This is just recurring tax revenue. So for Highland Ridge Estates and St. Anne's Country Club, 465 homes, I've made some assumptions here because people are going to say, they're not going to sell for that. They were originally planned to be an average about $350,000, between $500,000 and $250,000 or so. I've knocked it right down to $200,000 for an average, to be very conservative on this program. So you take 465 times 200,000, and then you multiply it by the current mill rate, 24.67, and you end up with 2,294,310 in taxes coming into the town once those 465 houses in the golf course are in up there. It could be more if this number is higher, if the average is higher than 200,000. It could be less if the average is lower than that. We won't know. Time will tell what the real estate homes will bring in this area. So that's very important. Now, what is this? The top one we have now is a shopping center at 300,000. So 369, that's 6. And you got about, this will be about 6 to 8 times more than the top taxpayer we have right now, in addition to the taxes that we're getting in right now. None of this comes from the existing taxpayers. It only comes in from the new guy. The next one, and number 2 on the list, would be Aurora Estates once it's implemented. Now, other ones might, we got a couple other ones in town that might be implemented before that, Platt Hill, Wallens Hill, but right now I'm not counting them. That's a bonus if they get done. But the Aurora Estates itself would be 225 homes once completed. And again, I use the average of 200,000. Some people might nitpick me on that and say, well, it's only going to be 175,000. Well, that's okay. We're talking about pretty big numbers here. So again, 225 times 200,000 each on average. Some will be higher, some will be lower, times the mill rate, existing mill rate, and you get $1,110,150. Now, if you add those two together, you're up close to $3.5 million on top of what we get already. And of course, everything will be affected by inflation. If the normal taxes go up, these taxes will go up. Okay, now we get to the existing one. Number 1, it will be number 3 at $300,000, and Howmet will be number 4 at $96,000. So you've got a big jump here And I don't personally see, you'd have to get 6 or 7 more of these to equal those developments. I don't see that happening. You'd have to get, well, gee, 6 to 20, 25 more of these. That isn't going to happen, right? So I'm trying to make the point here, and that's the point I was trying to make in my song at the beginning of the program. We're drifting too far from the shore. What we need to do is get these developments in. We need to get the water and sewer down the enterprise corridor. We need to get some more factories in. Maybe another shopping center somewhere or two. Maybe some more helmet castings. But we got to do something about it, and that's why I keep producing these papers for the EDC to hope I can jar them into producing a report. What is going to come in extra each year for the next 5 years? So far, that's a blank piece of paper, and I think we might even find that we're going to go backwards for a few years. I don't know. I don't have any information to be able to tell you. The town can't provide that information. Now I'm going to move on. I've got about 15 more minutes, I think. I'm going to play that song at the end. I have to allow 6 or 7 minutes for that, although it only plays for 5. I want to make sure we get it in. I'm going to talk now about Crying Wolf, and that is boards and commissions, appointments, reappointments, and removals during this term of these 7 selectmen. I'm just going to give you facts here that I garnered from the town hall. Can't guarantee I slipped a little and missed 1 or 2 things, but I can tell you I didn't miss much because I went down there twice. In the beginning of the day to get the information, I typed it up, I went back to check it out. I had to go through all the selectmen meetings over the last 2 years and pull out this information. Can't guarantee you that I didn't make a small mistake, but I can tell you whatever mistake I made is in the 5% category, not the 95% category. I've talked to you on this program over the years about the 95% and the 5%. You should know that by now. Some people, it doesn't work, it doesn't stick, but the successful people know about the 95% rule. Now here's a report I put together for myself, just so I could get the information. I went through the date of each of the meetings. I didn't put in special meetings because they didn't vote on these things during special meetings, except for maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. But I just put in the regular normal meetings. If I saw one that was an exception meeting, I took it. And I have probably 8 or 9 pages here, and I listed each person that was appointed or reappointed or not reappointed or dismissed from a commission. And it's all in this document here, and it all comes from the town hall records. You can go down and check it all for yourself, and if you find I made a mistake, please tell me, and I'll fix this, and I'll tell people on the air that the mistake was made. But I don't think you're going to find too big a mistake in these numbers. So now I'm going to show you a couple points that I think, and then I'll show you the numbers. The responsibility for board and commission appointments is defined in the charter. And of course the charter, wherever necessary, has to follow state statutes. So I'm assuming that it does that. If it doesn't do that, that's a different problem. But you could argue till the cows come home is happening now in town, whether something is legal or not. Everybody has. I think it was Russell Dutton Buckner who told me once last year, Brian, throughout the year, about 50% of the attorneys in town in the country are wrong, and about 50% are right, because there's 2 sides to every story. Now, of course, that doesn't really come out that way because there are compromises made, and there's all kinds of things happen, so the numbers aren't really that way. But I'm just trying to make a point here. Then when you get involved in anything illegal, then you can count on spending a lot of money, taking a lot of time, and you may or may not win. You may or not be right. So when I kind of look at things in town, I say, oh, look at all the people who've been accused over the last 1.5 years or so. How many of them have been convicted? The answer is probably none so far. I don't know of any. I think we had 1 little Freedom of Information thing where we didn't do the right thing, but most of the other things, I'm told, have probably been dismissed, right? So I think you're going to find that most of the accusations that are made, you got to wait until the jury makes a pronouncement or the judge makes a pronouncement before you know who's winning or who's losing. So, so we go by the charter here, right? Wherever we can, we go by the charter. And the charter says in there how volunteers should be handled through the whole process. And when somebody wins an election, they will do what they think is right. And when they lose the election, they don't get as much say. So if next time the minority wins the election, they will do what they think is right. And it follows kind of a normal distribution curve. And what you should try to get as volunteers, I make the assumption that all volunteers are good volunteers, and they're all going to add to things. And that's the kind of thing. I'm not going to place judgment on this one's better than that one, or this one shouldn't be there, this one should be there. That's not part of the game. So volunteerism has been around since the beginning and remain intact, as the numbers tonight will show very clearly. We're still doing all right with volunteerism, no matter what anybody says. Things are more balanced than some would like to believe. Watch these numbers, and I'll show you. And some change is often good for the town, for the state, and for the country. That's how we are established in America. That's what we do. President Obama right now is looking for people for the Supreme Court, one person for the Supreme Court. You can bet that's going to be somebody who thinks the way the majority party in Washington wants them to think. And I'm sure whoever they pick will do a good job and will help keep the balance. You don't want everybody to be the same on any of these things, either the Supreme Court or the commissions or anything else. And the other thing I just want to say about these commissions is that they can't all be, we don't want them to all be flower experts or water experts. You don't want that. You want a balance of people. You don't want a few who know that stuff like the back of their hand. You want a few who are great managers. You want some who are good listeners and judges, and you get a balance out of this. And nobody is indispensable. That's a rule in business. You must plan for people to fall over or get hit by a car or resign at any time. And you have to be prepared for that. Otherwise, you're going to feel it. And I want to say that some change is often good for the town, not a reflection on the people, and it happens through all administrations. So now here's some numbers. We got a few more minutes here. I think we're going to make it. So what I did is I put them in a matrix, and I said appoint, reappoint, do not reappoint, do not appoint, and remove. And here's how they break down by party. I didn't go below the major parties. Number one, the Republicans, for the appoint position, 112 appointments, 33% of the total appointments. The Democrats won even more than the Republicans did. They won 14, or 40%. We're very lucky here because there were 100 altogether that I counted, so it's easy to come up with the percentages. And then the unaffiliated, who are the majority of the voters, 3,700 voters, there's about 1,800 here and 1,400 here voters, they got 28% here. So they're kind of under the relationship of voters for the unaffiliated. And then there's a few people who fall into this category called independent. They're not just independents, they're people that aren't registered, they're people, you know, that kind of thing. So there's very small numbers there. So that's that. Now, when you go to the reappointment, and you can go do this yourself down at the town hall, there's no secret about this. You've got, I put this list together myself. The town hall didn't put it together. I went and dug through the information in the meeting minutes, and then the girls down there, ladies, filled in some of the blanks where the minutes didn't have some information. But okay, so Republicans, 15, 37.5% of reappointments. The Democrats, 12 or 30% of reappointments, and the unaffiliated 11 or 27%, and then 2 for the what I call here the independents. And then when you get over here, it gets much less. And do not reappoint. Well, we know here, I'm not counting the one the town manager recently did. That's a different story. This is just the selectmen. There were 3 that were not reappointed. There was a big kerfuddle made about the 3. I think unnecessarily. They're very good people. They did a good job, but there's other good people in town, and they can do a good job. And I think I'm one of them, so I'm not worried about that. But that adds up to 3. The important thing here is they come from 3 different parties, 3 different groups: Republican, Democrat, and unaffiliated. Now, how can you be more evenly distributed than that? Right? And look at how low the number is, 3. You got 76 people that were either appointed or reappointed, and only 3 that were not reappointed. Now, there also did not appoint 2 people as well. So altogether, there's 5 there. These are they did not appoint these. They did not reappoint these. So here you got no Republicans weren't appointed, proposed and not appointed. You've got 1 Democrat, and you've got 1 unaffiliated, and 0 in the independent category. And then for removal, there was only 1 removal, and that was an unaffiliated from the Planning and Zoning Commission, and that's being contested. So look at these numbers, 36, 40, kind of broken down almost evenly here. The Republicans are a little ahead in one and a little behind in the other. They're a little ahead on the 15 to 12. They're a little behind on the 14 to 12. And then the numbers drop down to almost nothing. You got 3 people over 2 years, a little over a year and a half, that did not get reappointed, and I'm sure the selectmen have reasons for that. I don't even know what they are, but got nothing to do, I'm sure, with the integrity of the people or the job they did. And then you have 2 that didn't get appointed at all, and 1 that was removed. And then I put the percentages up here, and the appoint was 36%, the reappoint 40%. The do not reappoint 3% only, the do not appoint 2%, and the remove 1%. Now you can argue about any of these till the cows come home, but the numbers do not show a big decrease in people volunteering. I think we're pretty well full on our commissions. There are a few vacant spaces here and there, but I don't think you'll find too many. Matter of fact, next week I'll go count the vacant spaces that we have, and I'll bring you up to date. Now you're going to hear the song that I wrote for the Bottoms Up Festival. That's going to be on Saturday morning at Highland Lake between 8 in the morning and 12 noon. If you're out on the water, try to go less than 6 miles per hour. Thank you.
Written by Charles E. Moody in 1924 and recorded by many since. The original song was called "You're Drifting Too Far from the Shore." In honor of the Bottoms Up Day, on Saturday, May 16th, from 8 a.m. till 12 noon. I have changed the words to the song, and I will sing it now. Out on the perilous deep, where danger silently creeps, and storms so violently sweep, you'll be drifting out far from the shore. Drifting out far from the shore, you'll be drifting out far from the shore. Come to Winsted to play, but have a safe day. You'll be drifting out far from the shore. Often the tempest rolls high, and clouds overshadow the sky. Sure success is hovering nigh. Divers drifting out far from the shore. Divers drifting out far from the shore. You'll be drifting out far from the shore. Come to Winsted to play, but have a safe day. Divers drifting out far from the shore. Safety volunteers will be there to ensure that everyone will take care. They'll be coming from near and from far to ensure the safety for all with great pride. You'll be drifting out far from the shore. Drifting out far from the shore. You'll be drifting out far from the shore. Come to Winsted to play, but have a safe day. You'll be drifting out far from the shore. 16 or so groups, so they say, will die for at least half a day. They'll haul plenty of refuge away, piloting containers on the shore of First Bay, to be weighed, photographed, and then hauled away. Drifting out far from the shore, you'll be drifting out far from the shore. Come to Winsted to play, but have a safe day. Divers drifting out far from the shore. A long time ago it was a way, much was left on the ice in each bay. It was never removed per se, so it sank when the ice went away. Drifting out far from the shore, you'll be drifting out far from the shore. Come to Winsted to play, but have a nice day. You'll be drifting out far from the shore. 25 years ago, so they say, divers took the bottom litter away. They say most of the junk is now gone. We'll find out in not very long. You'll be drifting out far from the shore. Drifting out far from the shore. You'll be drifting out far from the shore. Come to Winsted to play, but have a safe day. Divers drifting out far from the shore. When we clean our local shore during the draws, from Hanson's to the Pratts and beyond, we find plenty of anchors, old tires, cans, bottles, and such, but otherwise not very much. Drifting out far from the shore, you'll be drifting out far from the shore. Come to Winsted to play, but have a